Frances, thank you very, very much. Look, I'll just start where Eddie left off, if you don't mind. I mean, do you think it would be immoral for us to bring more children into this world as it currently stands?
Hi, thanks so much for having me on. My name's Frances. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Norwich. I work in a cafe. And I'm taking action with Just Stop Oil. And we are demanding that the UK government halt all new future oil and gas licences in the UK. But I'm sure we all know this now. It's a total no-brainer demand. And we've been saying it for over a year.
All right, OK. We'll just ask you to just answer that question, if that's all right. Do you think that we should, until we get your demands all sorted, we should be not reproducing? We don't want to bring children into this horrible world, do we, Frances?
Well, personally, I would agree with Eddie. I couldn't bring myself to bring a child into this world when I can't guarantee that I could keep them safe, when I can't guarantee that I can actually feed them. You know, we're looking at total societal collapse, and by that, I mean the collapse of our food systems. And we already are seeing this. You know, last year there was a 40-degree heat wave. I'm from Norfolk. It's a big agricultural hub. Where I live, there was a wildfire caused by flints getting too hot in this heat wave, which caused the loss of over 100 acres of barley. Over 100 acres. You know, we are seeing this. So no. Okay. Why would you bring children into that?
OK, look, Danny, you've heard that. Respond to any of that you like. I would also like to get your views on whether or not, when you see protests taking place at events like the snooker, for example, traditionally a working-class man and woman's sport, right, whether or not you think that maybe there are some elements of this Just Stop Oil group who are quite well off themselves, potentially, who are targeting the working class here. Your views?
Well, looking at this objectively as possible, I don't think there's necessarily a class element to this. I know that Just Stop Oil tend to be highly educated university-type people, or indeed retirees who are well-to-do vocational job people like, priests and vicars and justices of the peace and all of that. You don't tend to see many working-class men and women on it, not that I can see anyway. Just Stop Oil have been going for 2 or 3 years, and their main and their primary motivation is to basically change government legislation. Now, 1.5 million people marched in 2003 to London to try and get Tony Blair to stop the dreadful, with hindsight, decision to get in bed with George Bush and go to Iraq. So what a handful of these zealots are going to achieve. I would ask my opponents what they have achieved so far. They've achieved absolutely nothing. And to have Eddie jump on a snooker table and ruin the experience for hundreds of people, I think it's unforgivable. We know what your point is. And I don't think it's achievable. You're not achieving anything. Can you point me in the direction of one thing that you've actually achieved that you can put on your CV to say, yes, we've actually started to change government legislation, please? OK. Well, Frances, do you want to answer that then?
Yes, I absolutely can. The Labour Party has adopted our demand. The Sydney Opera House is divesting from fossil fuels. So HSBC is divesting from fossil fuels, all because of the fact that the campaigns like Just Stop Oil have raised the level of tension on this issue. People know that we are in a climate crisis because these campaigns, Just Stop Oil, Extinction Rebellion before them, we, and still, in fact, have raised the issue. This was not being talked about. This was being swept under the rug. Everybody knows what's coming, and it's terrible. It's terrifying, and we are winning, and we can win.
If that was to highlight the Sydney Opera House as some sort of government legislation is quite farcical. So if you're saying that the Labour government are going to stop new oil rigs, why don't you just leave everybody to their own and to watch snooker and to navigate around the capital and wait for a Labour government then? You're not going to change Conservative legislation. All you're doing is marginalising yourselves even further.
All right, so you're saying we don't have time, Frances?
We don't have time. So David King, the chief scientific advisor to 3 or 4 different governments, has said that what we do in the next 3 to 4 years will determine the future of humanity. He said that over a year ago. We do not have time. Normal political discourse has failed us. And now we have to look back in history at the suffragettes, the civil rights movement, the Indian independence movement. I can carry on listing them.
On that,
we know non-violent direct action is what needs to be done. OK,
on that, Danny, there have been similarities drawn, I think it must be said mostly by people like Frances, about with the suffragettes.
It's
one of
an
them-
inappropriate, it's a false equivalence. The suffragettes had 50%. I'll explain why, if you let me. The suffragettes had at least 50% of the nation behind them, i.e. 50% of women. They also had a lot of blokes behind them. 60,000 people tried to break into Parliament in order to change the government's mind. You haven't got that support. So please stop rewriting history in a false manner to support your shaky case.
How do you respond to that, Francis, that people are a bit sick and tired of climate alarmism because people are saying that for decades they've been hearing about we've only got 2 more years to save the world, or there's going to be an ice age, or the Maldives are going to be completely underwater by now, and all of this stuff, OK? And that maybe people are a bit weary of it, Francis. How do you respond to that?
I think they're probably more scared about the climate crisis, you know? Can you imagine what it feels like to be 20 years old today and have every opportunity that you could have in your life ripped away by the government that is actively investing in what is frankly genocide? They know that they are investing in a product that is going to cause the total annihilation of whole countries, whole cultures, whole groups of people. You know, they know that, your viewers know that, we all know that, and they are going ahead with it. You know,
Francis,
we've
can I
been
ask you...
back in the corner here.
All right,
we've
Danny,
tried
one more quickly.
everything else. I'm sorry, can I just finish my point? When I led 7,000 students out on strike, on school strikes, and we were ignored. 7,000 students. You know,
okay. Why don't you try to China?
We've tried
protest in China.
We've
protest
tried going
in
on
India.
marches. We've tried going on strike.
Francis,
converted.
What Danny's saying there, Francis, is why not go to China and do it?
Well, because I'm a British citizen.
Yeah, but even if we did everything...
an influence over my government. They're supposed to listen to me. Okay. They have a duty to protect me. And my generation.
I think that's such a poor excuse. If you genuinely believe that the Earth is going to implode, explode, we're at the end of times, for you to say that you're only 20, you're a British citizen, yet you're not prepared to get a one-way flight to China with your British passport is such... Your argument is like a colander. It's full of holes when people actually shine a mirror up to it.
Are you a bit... Is that right, Francis? Are you a bit frit of China?
Look, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, have said we can have no new oil.
He's not answering,
the United Nations have said this. Over 700 top scientists and Sir David King have said this.
Right.
Should your viewers really listen to them or Danny Kelly?
No, you're not answering the question. Why don't you protest in China?
They are protesting in China. We know that. The whole A1022 network is around the world.
Why don't you and Eddie, 25-year-old Eddie?
All right, OK, just one... Look,
the point.
No, to be fair, I think you've made your point. I'm going to interject here, both of you. I'm going to interject here, both of you. That's right, because I've enjoyed it. Just one quick one, Francis. Can I just ask, what do your parents make what you're doing? Or are they bang on board? I'm always intrigued to know a bit of the backstory about people, if that's all right, if you don't mind me asking. You don't have to answer, to be fair.
My parents support me because they want me to have a livable future.
Okay.
You know, they want me to have a life. They want me to have a career. They want me to have a family. They want me to have grandchildren. And they know that I'm doing everything that I can to protect that.